The Last of Us Part 2 is upon us, guys. The game is beyond impressive. The graphics are top notch, suitable for a modern day PS4 exclusive, and appropriately brutal as well. With that note, I want to talk to you about my first impressions of The Last of Us Part 2. Now guys, before we proceed, I gotta tell you that I will be talking spoilers in this video. So if you haven't played The Last of Us Part 2, or at least the first act of it, stay away from this video and come back after you play the game. Now when you talk about a sequel, it's only natural that you go back and talk about its predecessor, the original, the father, right? The way it all started. Now, what made the game for me was that very first event where Joel experiences a traumatizing event. His loss really drove the whole story for me. Meeting Ellie and having that bond, right, that father-daughter like relationship, it all made sense to me at the end because of that very first sequence of events. The bar was so high for The Last of Us Part 2, and honestly, I didn't expect it to reach to that level, but I wanted a convincing reason to get on board with Ellie's killing spree. First off, I gotta tell you, the graphics of this game is just mind-blowing. Those scenery in Jackson are just breathtaking. You could just wonder at them for hours and hours. It's just that beautiful. Now in Jackson, we have this sort of a love triangle between Ellie, Jesse, and Dina. I thought it was gonna be annoying because, hey, teen romance, not a big fan. But luckily it didn't last more than 15 to 20 minutes, right? Those interactions were alright. We got to know some sort of a background of Ellie and what she has been up to. So that was good. But apart from that, I didn't want this relationship to progress, right? Because I'm not focusing on that. I want to see what happens to Joel and Ellie. Now, that's the kind of relationship that I was worried about. Now we get to know that Ellie and Joel are not in good terms for some reason. Now, The Last of Us Part 2, the first act was not as exciting as The Last of Us Part 1 because at the very beginning, we are kind of chilling in Jackson, seeing how life has resumed as we know it. And everybody is trying to settle down. This was all well and good because I wanted to see how their life is in Jackson. But I wanted the story to pick up a little bit rather than just staying there, right? I said to myself, okay, now I've seen it. I've seen enough. Come on, let's pick it up. Let's pick it up a little bit. And boy, didn't it pick up. I loved Abby's gameplay because that zombie horde was quite something. I felt so many emotions. I was feeling claustrophobic and I was literally at the edge of the seat, and it was quite something. I've never seen something like that in The Last of Us Part 1, and Part 2 just delivered this zombie apocalypse at a whole different level. I especially loved this scene. It was really claustrophobic. And I was expecting an infected to jump at me anytime soon, right? It was one of the best scenes that I've ever seen in a video game. Now, of course, we know that Joel did something messed up to piss off Abby. And Abby is after him, and he dies, and now Ellie is after Abby. You see where this is going, right? This is this whole circle that Naughty Dog was talking about before the start of the game. I love the fact that before Abby kills Joel, Joel actually saves Abby. It just makes this whole scene so messed up. Now, of course, guys, I understand why people are pissed at Joel's death, right? We played this guy for so long and he just goes down like that. That's completely unacceptable. Now, I don't know the rest of the story, but this act for me was perfect, and it shows you how unpredictable this whole world is, and it kind of aligns with the circle of violence that Naughty Dog was talking about before the release of the game. I had two assumptions about what is going to happen before the game was released. Number one was that Joel would die. The very first time that Naughty Dog said that a traumatizing event would happen in Jackson and Ellie will be furious, I thought to myself, what else would make Ellie furious? I was firmly believing on this fact until the TV spot kind of hinted on something else. Now we see this scene where Ellie is wearing Dina's bracelet. It kind of hinted as to something would happen to Dina, and then my mind changed. Is it Dina, the reason that Ellie is going on a killing spree. If that's the case, now I don't know Dina, right? I don't want it to be the reason. I want it to be the first one because I know Joel so well, and if something happens to him, I will be traumatized for life. For real. What I was looking for from the first act of this game was a reason to get on board with Ellie, to make sense what Ellie is doing. For me at least, it gave us a perfect reason to be on board with Ellie and Ellie's killing spree. The whole basis of the game will depend on this very first scene, so I wanted it to be perfect, and I think Naughty Dog delivered. I was equally traumatized by the first scene in the second one as I was in the first scene of the first game. So guys, I want to know your opinion. Did the first scene of The Last of Us Part 2 actually made sense to you, or was it like completely nonsensical? Please let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.